Welcome back to another episode of In Conversations with Christina. Today's going to be a bit of a fun one. I have recently turned 25, and so today's episode is going to be 25 lessons that I have learned in my 25 years, and things that I have really, made a lot of the core of my life, and it also aligns with a lot of different values. So yeah, we're going to kind of go through those today. It's going to be a bit of a fun one. I'm probably going to expand on some and not so much on others, but yeah, it's just going to be a little fun episode of 25 things that I have learned in 25 years. I should also say that if you like this episode and you want to give it a share, I would be very grateful. And if you do tag me, I will send you a free copy of my recipe ebook, Easy Eats, which contains over 100 recipes that are dietitian approved and that only take less than 30 minutes. So yeah, make sure you do tag me as well, so I can send that through to you. But we shall dive into it. 25 things that I have learned in 25 years. The first one is, there is so much beauty in a slow, simple, grounded life. So this is something that has taken me, it sounds very simple, but it's taken me so many years to actually fully come into, because I think even from when I was 18 when I finished school to even recently even, I was so just go, go, go. I was always chasing the next thing. I always wanted the next thing. I was I've got to, do all this. I've got to travel, and then I've got to save for a house, and I've got to have a family and settle down. It was just go, go, go. And I think there's definitely times and places for that. But something that I've definitely learned over the years is there is so much beauty in a slow, simple, and grounded life. And that's really what I'm craving in my life now as I continue to get older, is yes, I want to still adventure and do those fun things. I'm not saying it's not doing those things or not pursuing different goals, but just doing it at a sustainable pace and doing it at a pace that feels really grounded, that is simple. And that simple, side of things is just one time when I was definitely early in my 20s, I wanted all these flashy things. Yes, I have goals I want to achieve. Yes, there's things I want to do. And we do have a lot of time, but then also on the flip side, who knows, right? We could, not be here tomorrow. So it's also finding that balance in life, but appreciating, those smaller moments has been something that, I think is a really good lesson to learn. And if I went back to my 20-year-old self, I would probably tell her that. The next one is spend more time off your phone. And I think we all know this one, right? Technology, our phones, right? They're just so distracting. It can create so many unhelpful things like comparison and stuff. The next one is, everything always works out, and there is always a way to make things work out. This is something that I have held to even just recently, so much. When things don't go my way, or something doesn't work out, always coming to the fact of everything always works out, even though I might not see it in the moment. I just have trust and hope that things will always work out, and there is always a way to work things out, right? And that's something I've even said even in previous relationships as well. If there is a problem or something arises, everything always works out, and there's always a way to work things out, right? There's always something that we can do, or another perspective, or another path we can take to do certain things, which I think having that perspective, and I actually get that from my mum. My mum has always said to me, there's always a way to work things out, right? Unless, it's something that involves death. Everything in our life, there's nothing that you can truly do in your life that is actually going to stop you from taking another direction or going down a different pathway. A lot of things in our life are work outable, even though that's not a word that I'm fully aware of. But yeah, really having that belief allows me to just lose a lot of resistance to when things don't go my way, and when different things pop up, in whether it's relationships, career, whatever it is. Just having that approach has been very, very helpful. Number 4 is that suffering is inevitable, and the best thing that we can learn as humans is to suffer well. So not to kind of be a downer, but like in life, we are going to suffer, we are going to lose people, we are going to go through hardships, we are going to go through health and sickness things, right? That is the constant in life, and that is the reality of life, that, you know, it is up and down. We do face so many different things, and the best thing that we can actually learn as humans is learning how to suffer well, because a lot of the times when different events or situations arise in our life, it can be very uncomfortable, it can be very overwhelming, we can feel very out of control, and that is then when we turn to certain maybe coping mechanisms and certain things in our life that actually don't help us, and what they're doing is actually just like avoiding us, you know, facing the thing that's at hand. And so I believe one of the biggest skills that we can learn and actually teach our children, when, you know, I personally don't have kids, but when I do have my own kids in the future, and if you're listening, you've got kids, right? Actually teaching your kids like how to suffer well, like, because you're going to go through crap in life, right? And so when you're faced with that, how can you teach yourself to suffer well? How can you learn the tools to navigate that? I did an episode all around mental health, anxiety, and depression, and my journey with that. And a lot of that journey has been, how do I actually navigate this anxiety? How do I work with it, right? How do I create that new relationship to it? And until I do that, right, like I'm suffering, right? I'm still going through feeling defeated by this thing. But as soon as we can learn to like suffer well and develop tools and strategies and look at it from a potential different perspective as well, is when we can work through these things with less resistance, and then also gain the lesson and the learning from that experience too. Number 5, your decision to walk away from something that doesn't serve you and never look back will empower you immensely. I absolutely love this quote, and because sometimes in life we will have to walk away from certain things where potentially our heart doesn't want to, or we don't want to, right? Like our feelings, our emotions are like, no, I don't want to walk away from this thing. I don't want to shut that door. But when you take control over that and you realize that there's certain things in your life, whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a habit, like whatever it is, like when you understand that it's not serving you and you walk away from that thing and you shut that door, it will empower you immensely, right? Because it gives you personal responsibility, and I believe personal responsibility is personal power, and being able to look at things in your life that don't serve you, even though walking away from it may feel so hard and like the last thing you want to do, it will empower you immensely because it gives you that responsibility back. And as I said, like taking responsibility of your life is one of the best things that we can do as humans. And so yeah, that's another lesson that I've learned, is like learning and understanding, you know, your own value and worth in things. Also understanding where people aren't giving you the value that you deserve, or they're not respecting you in some way, and being able to actually walk away from that and shut that door is going to empower you immensely to step into a new thing. It's also going to allow you to you know, step into new things that previously, if you were holding on to that old thing, that old job, like whatever it was, that old dream, holding on to those things are only going to keep you stuck. It's only going to always keep you going back to that thing. And so when you can walk away from things that you can acknowledge that aren't serving you anymore and step into something new, the doors that open from that, and the clarity, the peace, and the freedom that you feel with that, like you actually just cannot compare it to what you were going through before. But obviously in the moment, it's really hard to see that. So yeah, I would encourage you even today, if you are like, there's certain things in your life that aren't serving you, and then you know they're not serving you, making that decision to either walk away from that thing, shut that door, like it will empower you immensely, because you're taking ownership of your life, right? And we have a lot more control over our lives than we do realize. And when you take that responsibility and ownership, like your life will change for the better. The next one is number 6. No one can set the boundary but you. So boundaries is such a fun topic. We all love setting boundaries, don't we? I'm sure. But it's a journey for all of us, right? Like we're all on a journey of learning how to set proper boundaries. Some people do it better than others. I know for me in my early 20s, like I was horrible. I was always the yes girl. I would, you know, drop everything for other people. I was always doing everything else. and that only left me like burnt out. Even though I was saying yes and I thought I was doing the good thing, like I couldn't even show up as my full person in my full expression because I was burnt out from these things as well. So when it comes to boundaries in our life, no one can set that boundary except for you, right? Like no one's going to come and set that boundaries. No one's going to do that thing. Like you have to take ownership of that. And again, sometimes it might be hard, sometimes it might be painful, because at the end of the day, if you don't work on your relationship with yourself, like every other relationship in your life or everything else that you do is just going to be affected from it. This is also something that I say when I talk to clients about their relationship with food in their body. You don't realize it or not, but your relationship with food in your body actually comes back to your relationship with yourself, and that's going to impact every area of your life, whether you realize it or not, right? And if you've got that negative relationship with food in your body, there's going to be so many other areas of your life that are going to be negatively impacted by that. The next one is number 7. So people that use their words carelessly aren't people you should surround yourself with. So one thing I'm big on, and I think one thing that I value in my life, is how I use my words to encourage people and to build people up. And so a core value for me and a core thing for me in my life, and a lesson from the last 25 years, is like, do not surround yourself with people who use their words carelessly, whether it's at you, like yourself, whether it's about other people, like whatever it is. Like our words have so much power, and what you're speaking out is what's in your heart. And so I think people that use their words carelessly and just say things out of reactive states, or say things that do hurt and harm you, right? Like you should not surround yourself with those people, because that is only going to bring you down. And I think for me, that is a value that I hold myself by, is that I do want to speak life into other people. And so I don't want to be surrounding myself with people that do use their words carelessly. Number 8, and this is like my favorite, and it's honestly been like one of my mantras for this whole year, and something that I will take into the rest of my life. But number 8 is get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because it's the only way through. Anything good that you want in your life, it is not going to come through comfort. Like nothing good happens in your comfort zone. Yes, it feels very comfortable. Yes, it feels great. Yes, it feels warm and fuzzy. But if we want to achieve big things, we want to do big things, we want to step into new things, right? Be a better friend, be a better partner, be a better leader, be a better mom, like whatever it is, like that is going to require you going through some uncomfortable things to get to that place. And it's a mantra for my life. Like face the discomfort, like run towards it and get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because when you're uncomfortable, it means that you're growing. And I believe it's actually the only way through certain things that you have faced in your life. And it's only going to produce a lesson. It's only going to produce more wisdom. And so that's something that I always come back to. Number 9 is loving deeply means hurting deeply, but don't make that something wrong about yourself, because it's beautiful to feel all the things that you feel. So a lot of my life, I have almost made myself wrong sometimes for being so, I wouldn't say emotional, but being like holding such depth of emotion. And I used to make that wrong about myself. But something that I've come to relate differently to that is actually like having that capacity to love so deeply and to have that in your life. Yes, it also means you're going to hurt very deeply, but that's a beautiful thing, because you're allowing yourself to go to that level and depth of vulnerability in your emotions, which a lot of people don't do, and a lot of people shut that off. A lot of people, don't want to face those things. And the next one is number 10 is healthy love makes you feel safe, grounded, calm, and inspired to grow. So relationships that I'm in, whether it's with friends, whether it's with a partner, like whatever it is, if I feel anxiousness all the time, if I'm confused, if I feel overwhelmed, like if I'm feeling these things, that's actually not a healthy connection, right? That's not healthy love. That's not a healthy relationship. And so really having that as a lesson and coming back to that when I am pursuing new relationships and even current relationships, like, is it making me feel calm, grounded, and inspired to grow? Because if it's not, it's probably not the right thing for me. And that's also okay, right? We're not meant to be for everyone, and everyone's not meant to be for us. The next one is number 11. Get rid of the timelines. They create unnecessary pressure and keep you focused only on what you don't have, which ultimately stops you from living your life now. I said this at the start, but when I was like 20, I was like, I'm going to get married by 25, I'm going to have kids by 27, I'm going to be settled down by 30, and then me and my husband were going to go traveling with our family. Like, I used to just have like all these timelines in my head of like what my life looks like, when I wanted to buy the house, when I wanted to have the family, when I wanted to settle down, like what my life looks like. And that just created so much unnecessary stress, so much unnecessary pressure. It then made me so disappointed when I was reaching certain ages and I wouldn't have those things right. Like, it just creates so much unnecessary pressure, and it stops you living in the moment because you're always focusing on the next thing. You're always focusing on like, well, I'm going to do that when I have this, right? Which is such a limiting way to live your life, right? Like, you want to live your life presence in the moment, also understanding that I have these desires and I know these certain things are going to come in my life because, you know, I'm working towards them, but losing that scarcity or like that needy energy of like, well, I need it by this time, and if I don't have it by this time, you know, it means I'm not good enough or I'm not successful, like whatever it is. So really coming back into the fact of like just getting rid of like all the timelines and just enjoying life, right? And understanding that things are going to happen in life when they're meant to happen. I have the belief that nothing that is meant for you is going to pass you. So looking at life from that perspective just gives you so much more peace and freedom to just enjoy the moment that you are currently in. The next one is number 12, which is if you have a dream on your heart, chase it. The world needs your story, your mission, your impact, and we need you to make this world a better place. I absolutely love that because I believe if you want to change the world, you need to start with yourself. And I believe that if there has been a dream that has been planted on your heart or something that you feel called to do, chase it, step into it, because you'll have favor over that. And also our world like needs you to step into your calling and the dreams that are being placed on your heart, because the dreams that are being placed on my heart are probably separate to, you know, my best friend. Well, I know that for a fact, right? Like, they're separate, they're different. It doesn't mean one's better than the other. The world needs more of people truly just like running at what they dream and desire, and chasing after that, because ultimately that's going to make the world a better place. And as a collective, right, that empowers us all to really step into our true authentic self. Number 13 is that people that hurt you are just trying to protect themselves from their own unresolved pain. And unfortunately in life, we are going to go through things where people are going to do things that hurt us. We're probably going to do things that hurt other people. But a lot of the time when we are faced with situations where people that do things towards us that does cause a lot of pain and a lot of grief, they are doing that out of their own unresolved pain, right? Because hurt people are going to hurt people, right? So having that perspective, it can give you grace and compassion for the situation. It doesn't take away what they did, but also having that perspective gives you personal responsibility and personal power over how you can move forward into your life. And it also stops you going down this pathway of feeling like I'm not good enough, I'm unworthy because if someone did X to me, like it's about me, right? But at the end of the day, if someone is doing something towards you that is hurtful, that is painful, that causes a lot of grief, it has nothing to do about you, right? It is to do with their pain that they are projecting onto you. It is not to do about your own worth or enoughness or whatever it is. Yes, there might be some things for you to look at, or maybe some things where potentially like you contributed to those things or whatever it was, right? But it's also taking personal responsibility of it and understanding that certain things in our life like will happen, and it doesn't have to be completely related back to our worthiness and our worth. The next one is number 14. Suffering with your mental health will take you to dark places, and the only way to allow the light in is by letting people into that last 10%. Your body and brain can't heal without words, so find a safe space. Talk about what you're experiencing, because you can't heal what you don't articulate. This is something that I just want to scream from the rooftops. When you are going through mental health and different struggles in your life, sometimes there is a level to what we will articulate or explain to people. We'll say, hey, yeah, I might be going through X, Y, and Z, depending on where you're at with those current relationships. But in those close relationships and the people that you trust and the people that support you, you need to let them into that last 10%. You need to be honest with them. You need to be vulnerable with them, because to be fully known, fully seen, and fully heard, right, people need to know the truth. And not actually allowing someone into that, not giving someone the full truth, it can actually be a selfish thing that we do, because we think in our head that, oh, like we don't want to bother them, or it's protecting them, or whatever it is. The best thing that we can do in a relationship or any dynamic is be completely open and honest with where we are at, because then we truly can allow people to meet us there with that, in that. And the other thing that touches onto that is like finding a safe place. So whether it's therapy, whether it is your friends, like whatever it looks like, finding a safe space to talk about what you are going through is the best thing that you can do to actually heal. For us to heal, for us to actually process things, like even on a psychological level, we need to articulate it, we need to speak through it. And sometimes that might mean saying the same thing over and over again, right? But having those people in your life that you can sit with and do that. And that's why therapy can be so powerful for people, because they have that safe space to talk and articulate themselves, which is how people heal. We heal in communities, we heal in groups. The next one is number 15. If you want to do big things in your life, surround yourself with people who are also doing big things. Your environment is so important and so key, right? Your environment will either be an anchor that pulls you down or an engine that is going to propel you forward, right? Surrounding yourself with people who are also pursuing big things, right? If you're around people that have no limitations on what they do and they have these big dreams, they have these big goals, they're doing the big things, right? Like, you're naturally going to elevate and you're naturally going to be pulled forward to have those same mindsets, beliefs, and patterns as well. The next one, number 16, is sometimes you won't like the things you have to do, but you still need to do them. This one is a good one. It comes even back to like working for yourself in your own business. There is so many times where I am doing things that I do not want to do, but I still need to do them, right? And I think that's in life, that's in business, that's in even if you look at exercise. Some days you want to go to the gym, right? You won't want to do things, but you still need to do the things to move yourself forward, right? To reach that goal, to do whatever it is. Having that reminder, I think, is just really key in life. The next one is number 17. Stop waiting for the right time, because there is none. And I think this relates back to so many things in your life, but whether it is moving overseas, whether it's a job, whether it's a career, whether it's a relationship, like whatever it is, stop waiting for the right time. There is literally no such thing as the right time. You just need to start actually taking action on the things, right? Like, it's all good and all to have the plan, it's all good and all to write down the goals, but if you don't actually take action and move forward into those things, like, you're not going to get anywhere, right? You're not going to change your life, change your circumstance, like whatever it is. So waiting for the right time, there is no such thing. Like, just start to step forward, take one step forward, like whatever it is. I even think back to like recovery as well. Like, there is no right time for you to start your recovery journey, right? You just need to start, because you'll also never feel ready to start your recovery journey, right? Like, it's just like not a thing. And as humans, we create this idea in our heads that like, there's got to be this right time to do X, Y, and Z. But at the end of the day, like, there isn't. Like, you just need to start and things will fall into place. The next one is, and this is actually kind of funny because it's kind of like a kick in the face, but your constant need for reassurance and validation from others comes from a lack of self-trust. And this is actually something that I've actually started to understand only recently in my life, and something that I've learned. But what I've learned is that always feeling the need to like go to other people and to get their validation for things, or that constant reassurance that you're doing the right thing, like whatever it is, it actually comes back to a lack of self-trust in yourself, right? Because why can't we just do the things and trust ourselves that we're going to be fine and we're going to like work them out, rather than like polling 10 people to figure out if I need to, you know, take this next step or do this next thing, right? So yeah, it's a bit like a kick in the face, that one, but I think it's really powerful, because if you are someone that constantly needs reassurance and validation for certain things in your life, that actually might come back to the fact that you just don't trust yourself in those things, or there's doubt there, right? Which actually might be the thing to look at, rather than constantly having these patterns and behaviors where you go to other people to get their approval to then do some certain thing in your life. The next one is number 19, and this is more like maybe an affirmation, but it's like, you are always supported, you are always protected, and there is always hope. This is something that I always just say to myself, even throughout my mental health struggles and journeys, is like, you are always supported, you are always protected, and there is always hope. I actually have a tattoo on myself that says like protection. But yeah, it's literally just reminding myself, like, there is always hope. I am always protected, because for me, fear has been something that I've struggled with throughout many different periods in my life, especially alongside with anxiety. So just reminding myself, like, I am safe, I'm always protected, have doing something that I constantly do. And that even comes into when life presents me with different situations or different outcomes outcomes of things that I was not expecting, I firmly have the belief that this is for my protection, right? When something in work happens or a relationship breaks down or something happens, right? I always, like, even when it comes to like sitting in traffic, right? Having to detour, having to whatever it is, I always remind myself like this is for your protection. And I think just having that belief is just, again, it loses the resistance to when things don't go in our perfect plan that we, put in our head. The next one is be the girl who goes for it, and if things won't work out, at least there's a story or a lesson from it. Yeah, this is something that I just like always just, again, like hold close in my life, because I'm like, these dreams, these goals that I have, I'm like, I'm just gonna go for it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, and at least there's a lesson or a story from it. And again, having that approach allows you to take more risk in your life and end up, creating a dream career, creating the business, creating the amazing relationship, like whatever it is. But again, just like going for things. The next one is nothing on this side of eternity is permanent. Learn to detach, learn to trust, and learn to surrender. I think I could go into a whole podcast on like the law of detachment, but I think understanding that in this current life that we have, and for me, I believe in God, so I believe in heaven. I believe that, in this current life that we live, like when we die, we can't take things with us, right? Like nothing in this side of life is permanent. And again, having that perspective, I actually read a book at the start of this year called Hard Advice for Hard Times, and it talks about that whole premise of everything in life is like impermanent, right? Like even each day, right? The sun rises and then it falls, right? There is always a beginning and an end. It's the same thing with like relationships and like death and all those different things, which sounds a bit morbid, but we're not just gonna live forever, right? Like life isn't just gonna go on forever, right? So having that approach to life, it allows you to detach from things, it allows you to surrender, and it allows you to trust that like the path that you're on is the path that you need to be on. So yeah, another really strong learning that I take with myself every day. The next one, 22, is always keep your heart open for people who are good for it. So I think many people can relate, but you go through hard things in life and it can make you close your heart. It can make you feel like put your walls up and not want to let people in. But I think something for me is like always allow your heart to stay open for the people that are good for it, because we need people in this life. We need connections, we need love, we need all these different things, right? Like they're human core desires. So always keeping your heart open for people that are good for it is. Number 23 is laughing, singing, and dancing is medicine to your soul. I love to laugh. Like I'm a very bubbly personality. I always have had. But laughing is the best thing that you can do for your soul. Singing, again, just like letting a song out, again, it is amazing for your soul. And just like dancing, right? Like on a chemical level, right, it produces like dopamine and all these things that are good for us, but it is truly just medicine to your soul. And I think like sometimes even in the hardest moments of life, like just finding some sort of laughter, finding a dance, like whatever it is. Life at the end of the day, we're all living on a floating rock, as many people have probably heard before. Just learning to like also not take life that serious sometimes and just have a laugh, have a dance, have a boogie, have a song, like yeah, because it is truly medicine to the soul. The next one is find a partner who understands how their emotional history impacts the way that they show up in a relationship. This doesn't mean finding someone that is perfectly healed, because no one is, but someone who has enough self-awareness to see where their past is getting in the way of loving you right, and also commit to being that partner yourself. I think this is so powerful, I think, for anyone, but understanding how different things in your life, your emotional history in your life impacts your way to show up to a relationship is so key and important, because whether you realize it or not, it is going to affect that relationship. It may put up walls, right? It may put up different things, different even attachment styles, even if we go into that. But understanding for yourself and understanding, what has impacted your own life, and then also finding someone who also is aware of what has impacted their own life, like it is going to allow those two people to show up to their relationship, not perfect, but just understanding their different things, their different triggers, their different things they've had to navigate, right? So then when you come to that relationship, you can have that open communication about that and navigate that together, right? It doesn't mean, again, finding someone who is perfect, because no one's perfect, but finding someone who is aware of that and that is able to be vulnerable in that as well, I think is so key and important. Number 25, We have two choices in life. Let circumstances harden us so we become angry and afraid, or let circumstances soften us so that makes us kinder and more open to what scares us. I just love this, but I've kind of said it throughout the whole thing, like we will go through things in life and we always have two choices: to let it harden us or to let it soften us. And I think letting it soften you to find the lesson, the learning, to develop more kindness, to also then step into your own things that scare you, like it is just going to benefit you and you will become such a wise person and enjoy such a beautiful life. But those are my 25 lessons I have learned in 25 years. And while I think when I first wrote this down, I had like 50 different things, because that's how my mind works. I just have different thoughts popping in and out all day long, and I always write them down. So yeah, it was hard to actually narrow down to 25, but those are the things that I felt really that, yeah, I think I wanted to share, and maybe I will do another episode one day in the future of another 25 things about the lessons I've learned. But yeah, I hope you gain something from that. And it's a new lesson or learning for yourself. But yeah, I thank you for tuning in today to another episode of In Conversations with Christina. And as I always say at the start, if you shared some of your stories and tag me, I will send you a free copy of my ebook. But otherwise, I will see you in next week's episode.